Right. Time to get this show underway. Tonight is just a old school drawing session. By old school, I mean sitting at table drawing. I thought I've been doing a bunch of digital art lately, so it might be nice to just go back to my roots a little bit and draw the drawing board. So give me just a moment. Gathering a couple. I had a lot of trouble setting stuff up. A lot of trouble. And so I misplaced a couple things. Let's see. First, I get to decide what I want to draw. I've been doing like images from the previous play sessions for the playtest, and I was thinking I'd stick with that theme tonight. Let's see. I don't think I'll have any guests tonight. Joseph is getting ready to move, and Blackheart, I don't think is available either. And hopefully the microphone isn't too far away. Sorry, that's the sound of the chair scratching on the floor. Alright, here we go. Oh, you know what? One more thing. Okay. One of the things I had fun with last time is with the playtest, Blackheart's character Sin constantly getting thrown through the window. So I thought it might be fun to do that. I think I started off, this is already too big. So I want to be able to capture enough of that specific scene on here. I think I'm going to go about here. So yes, I know that I hold the pencil a little funny with my left hand. I was not born left-handed, and I am not by nature a left-handed artist. I just learned to draw with my left hand as a result to a martial arts injury. So the result is sometimes I hold the pencil a bit funny, because I still haven't figured out how to hold it, I guess, more natural. So I think I made that bigger. Oh well, we'll roll with it. Maybe. You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to use this. And we're going to work out this scene just real quick. So what I was thinking, he's thrown through the wall quite a bit. So I was thinking maybe I'd have some like debris of the wall, and then this character kind of like, after he's been through like thrown like something like that. Maybe one leg's still kind of passing through the wall and the other's like already through or something. So let's compare that to what we have here. Way too big. Okay, so we see scale-wise that the head should be about right here. Body's going to be roughly right here. This arm, I'm actually going to do more like this. This one, I think I'll be coming over like that. I don't know, maybe I'll curve it the same way it is here. So that makes it look like he got hit more with his back. Or his shoulder or something. That feels a lot better. Where did I put my phone? Welcome to Chancy Chio Gaming Center. Or Joseph, as I more commonly call him. I was going to keep my phone up here so I could see the chat, but I don't know where I put it. So if I don't respond right away, I apologize. I will periodically turn my head to check the chat. Okay, so let's keep working on this. This triangle, circle, triangle is the same thing I'm going to be teaching people in my course that I am going to be doing. That's how I start figures. I use those to sort out what I'm doing. Now I think let's kind of continue this curve this way. That means the other leg's going to kind of be up here and maybe a couple different options. I think that'll work. Okay, so let's knock this back just a little bit. Start roughing this figure actually in. So I don't actually know what Sin is wearing. So I'm going to be trying to come up with that as I go along. I don't have a physical description for the character too much yet, aside from that he's a bit Asian looking and that he has a hood. Okay. But I imagine him having like this really kind of intense looking hood, but no sleeves, like showing off his sculpted fighting arms. Throat feels a little dry tonight, almost like I'm getting sick. Really hope not. Okay. I think you're right. He was covered in scars. So I will make sure I take that into account when I start inking. I usually don't pencil scars in unless it's like a major one that's kind of hard to keep track of with perspective. But I will just, when I get to the inking stage, start inking those in. I do not like the way this hood is wrapping around his face. Okay. It feels so good to be using a pencil. I mean, I like working digitally, but it's just not the same as like getting the feedback of the pencil on the paper while you're working. It's just, I'll always think it's just much nicer. Okay. I thought it might be nice for everyone if I just use like a standard yellow pencil, just to see that the tool doesn't make much of a difference. Welcome, Hallelujah Bell, and to Unholy Zion, also known as Blackheart. But yes, I am working on doing hand drawing tonight. Yeah, you did forget to send me the character description. Feel free to throw it in the chat because that's the one I'm looking at the moment. I don't have the Discord where I can see it. But otherwise, I will tell you what I'm doing. He's going to have kind of some baggy-ish pants, like a monk thing around his waist. He's going to have a hood, but not like a separate cape thing, just like a hooded sleeveless shirt. And I was going to kind of partially hide his face in shadows. I just remembered my phone is behind my computer because I was plugging the camera in. Okay. Goodbye, flashlight. Let's work on getting the chat open. Except I don't have that. Oh well, I'll just keep turning my head. The YouTube app that I have is glitchy at the moment. It does not work right. And so I've been watching YouTube videos in Firefox for mobile, but the chat doesn't work there. So for those who don't know, Joseph's finally back at the point where he's going to be, or finally at the point where he's going to be moving in with me and my wife. I actually will be flying out to get him this and help him pack a bit at the end of the week. Let's see, what direction do I want to put that arm? Maybe I'll turn the body just a little bit more that way. So far this is going better than I expected. I had no idea what I was going to draw tonight. I apologize if I sneeze because there is a ton of pollen in the air tonight. And it is really bothering my nose. Blackheart, does this character have any wraps or anything on his hands? Because I'm like really tempted to put some gauntlets or some wraps around his hands or something. Okay, Time to draw the hand. Does have hand wraps. Perfect. Okay, let's see. Clothing wise, most of his clothing is very torn, especially around the sleeves and feet. Perfect. How long are his sleeves? Are they short sleeve like this, or does he actually have sleeves? Thank you for that information. That really will help. Okay. Maybe I'll just do this one as a fist. So they're not, because he was mid-fighting. And then it keeps the hands from being exactly the same on both sides. At this point, they are torn. May as well be sleeveless. Perfect. Okay, I think that's a good rough penciling in. I'm actually going to ink with my other hand. I've been trying to go back and forth between my two hands. Got a little strength back in my right hand finally, and it's starting to last longer for drawing. And so I've been trying to do like the rough sketches and stuff with my left hand, so I can do like the detailing with my right. Where is the pen? This. I need this. I don't need that. What about you? Nope. What about one of these? None of those are yeses. Perfect, that's what I'm looking for. Inking tools. Not quite a standard. See how many of the other ones I actually use, because this is, I get going with the brush and then I don't always switch. I know I didn't draw a nose. There was a reason for that. Is this running low? It's out. Okay, well that causes a few problems. Luckily, I have this. There we go. I like this as well because it kind of keeps some of the mystery of the character. Like, we don't know exactly what he looks like. Maybe we're not meant to know exactly what he looks like at this point. We just kind of got this intimidating, intense kind of grimace. Let's see. Head. Bald with a 5 o'clock shadow beard. Good to know for future. Right now, can't see that at all. I'm going to use this other one. This is one that I saw on David Finch's channel. Rather than having a perfect tip, it's got a variable one. So you kind of push it and pull it a little bit. It behaves a little bit more, just a little bit more like a brush. So I like having that freedom to kind of change the thickness and thinness as I go. That might make it a little too hard to see with my hand there. I think I was blocking the light. Okay. Fun thing about these hand wraps is you gotta have them just a little thicker, or the lines right there a little thicker around the edge to make it look like they're actually kind of overlaying one another. You could also do that a little bit more here. Just gotta be careful not to make them look like tiger stripes, because that's very easy to do as well. Show that they're a little tighter, more tighter wrapped around the wrist. These lines are a little all too the same, so I'm gonna try to beef up some of these just to make it look like the knuckles are actually kind of overlapping a little better. Or not the knuckles, but I guess they're still knuckles. The fingers overlapping. Okay. Need some more shadow, but I'll add those a little later, because if I start nitpicking the shadows right now, I'm just going to kind of get stuck on that. Does he have like a belt tied in the middle, or is it just like a sash belt, or what does he got around his waist? Sash, perfect. Rope's not a bad idea either, but I definitely fond of like the sash style belts. I think well, I've been fond of them ever since I first saw one on like a D&D monk. I think they work well. Kind of like that, I think. You think about this one for a moment. Okay, now I'll put this sash belt in place. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to this hand because this one's starting to hurt a little bit. I don't think I can ink all that great with my left hand because I can't make as big strokes, and they're a lot more. It's like with my right hand, I can control a lot more of what I get like this. With my left hand, it's a lot harder. I get a lot more. See how that one's a lot more consistent, or consistently thick, while this one's got more thins and thinness. That's what I struggle with my left hand. Or I end up with a lot of this like little offshoots. It's not so big of a deal when you're using pencil, but when you're inking, it's definitely more noticeable. Love the designs on statues. Yeah, they're just so much fun. I thought about getting a drawing wrist guard, like just to support my wrist while I'm drawing. So the problem actually is not. Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. So the problem actually is not here for me. It's here. And so I end up with kind of a ton of pain right in there. And I can't hold the pencil or whatever I'm using properly when I'm doing that. But yeah, I've tried wrist things before and they just don't help because the pain's up here. Okay. I'll switch back to this hand just for a moment. Let's see. Writer's Cliff. You'll want to link that in the Discord because it won't let you link it in the YouTube chat if you're not the host. Okay, I need to go back to the brush. Okay, where else do I want to emphasize some shadows? Okay, and this foot, do that one in shadow as well. One nice thing about feet, you can usually get away with doing things like that for them. Okay, I feel like all these. Well, what color is his hood? Is it a black hood or is it a? I mean, it's a black and white piece, but if it's a dark hood, I could do a lot more with shadows on it than I might have otherwise thought. I think I'll go ahead and just start chunking some of these things where I want them anyways. I'm glad the shading is pleasing. I was hoping it would be. Adding all the little shadows and kind of noodling, as we refer to it sometimes, is one of my favorite things. Specifically with the shadows, one of my favorite things to do. Okay, and just a little bit on the back over here. Alright, now let's take the erase. You know, I'm going to give that just a moment to dry. Return to the pencil. See what I want to do with the background. So I'm thinking something kind of doing this number. Let's start by putting some bits of wall in here or something. I know walls aren't typically shaped like that. Normally I'd even draw like bits of the room detail back there, like maybe some shelves and some other things, to show that he's being thrown into a room But tonight, I mostly just want to communicate that he's being thrown through something. Poor guy. How many walls did he get thrown through again that last week? I feel like it was quite a few. 3.5. Wall trauma. That's right, roughly 4 and back through the holes of one of them. Yeah, he's never going to look at a wall the same way again. So we had a game one time where we were... it was a fantasy game Joseph and I were playing in, fantasy campaign. And there was a castle, and the castle had a door. And Joseph rolled like really low to see if there was anything significant about the door. And so it was a normal door, but his character was otherwise convinced that that door was like the root of all evil. And so I know it's not the same, but the fact that he's got like the sin now has a history with walls kind of makes me feel. It reminds me of that. Yeah, he was like, "I will return and I will burn down the door." He's gonna have some stuff piled up back here behind him because his back collided with the wall. Alright, those ought to be good. Let's start knocking in some of those shapes. We'll say you went through a brick wall because brick's more fun to draw than other things. You'll notice I don't draw like every shape perfectly. It's enough for me if your mind can convince itself that this is what it's supposed to be. Like I don't need to draw it exactly if your mind is willing to do the heavy lifting. But I think that's a sign of a good piece of art. You should have the person's mind doing the heavy lifting. Because you want their imagination to engage. I think those will work. I think, so I definitely do not have Hi, welcome to Honesto. Glad you could join us. Drawing a scene from a role-playing campaign session from last week, where one of the characters got thrown through 3.5 walls. He got thrown through 3 walls clearly, and then he got thrown back through one of the holes that was already in one of the walls. So we are doing that tonight and just talking art. Yeah, so as I was saying, it's good to realistic art requires a completely different mindset. I think it's an incredible thing. I can do realistic, I just don't enjoy it. I like, for me, part of what I enjoy about drawing is seeing how I can get the person's imagination to interact with what I'm drawing. So if I'm drawing Batman, for example, I love to draw Batman heavily silhouetted, kind of like I've drawn this character here, because I love the idea of, well, when someone sees this, their mind is going to take that image of Batman and they're going to come up with stories for like the expression he might have beyond that in the shadow, or maybe like, well, what is Batman thinking? Like, what is the mind going to do with this information? Like, I think there's enough information there to see it and be like, oh, he's hurt. He's gone through a wall. Uh, and it's especially true, like, if you know what a character looks like, because then your mind can play with it all the more. That, and I just really needed to uh, hold a pen and pencil in my hand instead of a stylus. I do love digital art, but it is just not a substitute for feeling the pen in your hand or the pencil. There's nothing quite like it. If anyone has any drawing questions, they're welcome to throw them out as well, or even questions about the campaign session. I'm happy to try to answer those as well. Okay, hand switch. These little things are great for practicing with my left hand, because it's far less important if I get the lines wrong, I guess you could say, the shape's wrong. As long as this reads as a brick, it definitely does not need to be like line by line perfect, which I can't quite do with my left hand still. I almost drew the bathroom scene, but I don't know. Sin going through the walls felt more iconic to the session. Maybe I'll do the other one in the future. So if anyone saw me doing all this other stuff on the side, be like, why are you drawing funky things on the side? It's because I'm going to cover them up with ink in a bit. Don't need to worry about those remaining. these kind of movement lines. It's good to have like bulky shapes kind of everywhere, and then you can put little bits along these movement lines to help reinforce the idea that something is moving really quickly in space or blasting through something. Let's finish up some of these other ones before I switch back to using the brush pen. Okay. Back to the brush. Hit some of these spots at a little bit of depth. Okay. I don't like to I mean, in some spots, yes, but along this, like, blast line, I guess I'll call it, I don't want to ink it in perfectly because these brush strokes can do a lot to help it make it look like he's coming through that wall. Alright, let's take the eraser to it and see what we can see. give it another moment. I have a habit of getting the eraser too early to the image, and the ink hasn't perfectly dried yet, so I end up creating ink smears, and I would like to not do that if I can help it. I actually like having some of these lines visible, so I'm going to add a few of those. Somewhere along like that. And kind of one coming all the way out here, I think. Okay. I can still see a little bit of wet ink over there, but I think we should be good to start erasing in this region. Come on, page, stop shaking. Thankfully, these inks dry pretty quick. All right, so just a few detail lines up, and I'll be done with this part of the image. Okay. I like to turn the pen to create some movement with the inks, even though it's still kind of on the same item. I want his pants to feel a little darker as well, so I'm going to drop some ink over the whole, all the pants. Except maybe up here where we might have a little bit of extra light. Okay, some more on the arm. I like that. I think that That works well. I think it adds a little bit more to the image as well. Alright, there is this top piece. Now to figure out what we're doing for the bottom section of the paper. So let's pull this back out. Figure out what we want to do. I really like how that turned out. Okay. So first, stop and think about what happened in the session. He got thrown through walls. You know what? I kind of want to draw the creature that threw him through the wall. Joseph, could you give me a quick description of that creature again, please, while I figure out where I'm going to put this guy. I do think I just kind of wanted something big and intimidating. Like maybe this guy's chest is all puffed up looking because we're looking down at this guy. Or sorry, he's looking down at us and we're looking up at him. Might take a 10-minute break before I get too big into the other one. Something like that. And then I could even have like maybe the back of my character over here just kind of looking at him. We wouldn't see the head of the front of my character, but maybe I can try to give him almost like a this isn't good type pose. Oh, and I could even do like maybe like this to show like this guy's looking into that hole that just got made. Okay, so about 8.5 feet tall, furrowed all over, furrowed all over the arms and lower half of the body, all fanged teeth in the mouth of a horned beast, massive clawed hands. Okay, I can work with that. So I'm actually going to beef this guy's head size up since he's got the horns. I'm going to give him just this big ol' intimidating mouth. Something like that. I think we got enough information to start sorting it out. Okay. This guy does not have human proportions, though he is humanoid. I don't think I'm going to put my character over here. Instead, I think I'm going to show off. I'm going to move this guy over a little bit and show off his whole figure. There goes one of the pens onto the floor. So this up here represents kind of the along the, well, I guess this can show it better. If I'm doing this triangle, this line kind of from the shoulders across the clavicles, that represents that, and then I bring the triangle down here. So I use the triangle to help me figure out the positioning of this figure. I know that this head is typically too low, but it might work well for this kind of monstrous figure. And so I tend to put the shoulders right at the end of this triangle. I think what I'll do is I'll finish roughing in. I'm going to check the time first. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm going to finish roughing in this pencil real quick, and then I'm going to go tell my wife good night, and then I will be back to finish this. I try to go for a couple hours, and then just give my wife like 10 minutes on stream nights before she goes to bed. I want this guy's arms even bigger. Hoofed feet. We're not going to see his feet, but that is good to know. Joseph said he's fur covered up top. This ball
represents the, I'll just show it real quick. This ball's the torso, kind of midsection. Section it off like that. And I know my legs kind of go here. I know my arms kind of go here. Head sits up there somewhere. But that's roughly how I do that. So this ball helps me figure out, I guess you could even say, the figure center of gravity. Now this, like I said, he does not have human proportions. And so the nice thing about this ball triangle ball method is this lets me control those proportions. So for a more Hulk-like character, I simply increase the size of this triangle and decrease the size of this one. So all of a sudden I've got this figure that stands like this, instead. But I just adjust the size of those triangles to control that. I was playing Magic and made a Toxic Land Destroyer concede. Yes, we were fighting a big boy. It sounds like you had a good time playing Magic, Hollow. I need to get back into that game. You didn't miss too much. We finished the top panel. And I'm about done penciling in this bottom one, and then I'm going to take a quick break once I get this kind of roughed in a little further. I want to do the horns like this, I think. And I'm going to kind of bring his head down, make it a little more beast-like. Something like that. Big ol' smiley grin. Nose kind of right there. I'm going to give him some ears like this. And I know Joseph didn't say it, but I feel like he needs a tail. So in this interpretation, I'm giving him a tail. Alright, I will be back in just a bit And then I will resume drawing.
Yeah. I wonder if I can just throw some text up here real quick that says. Perfect. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I am back. Let's turn this AFK message off and keep going. First, I must solve the mystery of the missing pen, which I knocked on the floor with careless abandon. Pen found. Okay, we're good. Alright, I'm going to go straight to using this one. I'm going to do this because I think it makes him look just a little bit more sinister. This eye's bigger than the other one. That's alright. I'll do something like that. Okay, I think I'm going to do the horns next because they just look like they're going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for welcoming me back. Let's get these ears in. Nice thing about this guy being like a mutated person is I seriously doubt like if his physical appearance is caused by a sudden mutation that he's not going to be very symmetrical to begin with. I mean, there's going to be certain symmetrical qualities, but otherwise, like it makes sense that one horn doesn't look identical to the other one because they weren't natural, they were a forced mutation. So I actually want this horn to kind of come up like this, just to add a little bit of that variation. I really like this pen. It's just so much fun to draw with.
Okay, that works. I like that. Looks smooth. Yeah, this pen is really nice. I don't know if you were here when I was explaining earlier, Hollow, but this is it's made for drawing, but you can use it for writing and stuff as well. But the tip is not like perfectly uniform. It's a little bit more like a brush, and so you can get a nice clean line with it if you want, but you can also like vary the weight of the line really easily with that one. So I really like it for drawing a lot. I want to add a little bit more of these right in there. Same over here. Just gonna do these right away this time. Yeah, so it's nice not to have to switch pens to get different line thicknesses, because like this one, and you can kind of do it, but it's specifically a number 5, and so its line is meant to generally always be that size. But this one, I don't remember what the PN stands for, but it has something to do with the fact that the tip's different. It looks like the textures on them are going to be a little different as well, which is not bad. Since, I mean, this guy's meant to be kind of a freak of nature. And so little things that you can do to help that come across are good. There was based on a conversation I was having with Joseph, who DM'd the session, there was a scientist who started trying to force human evolution by doing research that mixed it with non-human DNA and resulted in that. So Hollow has a question. Would you say it would help for someone who has carpal tunnel and has a shaky hand? That's a good question. I'm not sure, honestly. I mean, my hand has some issues. I can't actually use my right one forever. I'm not sure if you mean like would it help everything look consistent by kind of help hiding mistakes? Possibly. I'm still not the best at writing with my left hand, but maybe that'd be good. So like writing with my right hand, I can still look pretty decent. My left hand, though, yeah, I'd say I think it does kind of help, because like the thins and thicknesses feel like they kind of blend a little bit into each other. It doesn't quite work the same way. I mean, this is a lot cleaner than it used to be. Maybe a little bit. I think it's worth trying
like getting one and seeing how it works. He says, my right hand gets tired easily. I couldn't write for more than a minute without it getting tired. Is that because of carpal tunnel? After I hurt my right hand initially, I couldn't even write with it for more than a few seconds before it was an excruciating pain. It wasn't a exhaustion; it just straight up hurt. Um, these days, I can draw for a while off and on with it again, but it does eventually hurt. I'm actually planning to switch to my left hand after I finish this kind of the detailing on these things. Actually, no, I think I'll just switch now. Creates a different texture to do this kind of detailing with my left hand. Partially carpal tunnel. So I know, like I don't know what caused your hand to get into that state. But I know for people I have worked with a little bit, just teaching them how to draw, one of the big things that keeps them from drawing is what I call underdeveloped art muscles. And kind of what happens there is, we use our hands for all kinds of things, but we don't necessarily use them in the same ways all the time. So, like, playing a card game is not going to use the muscles in the hand the exact same way as drawing does. Let's see, I kind of regret playing video games as much as I did when I was younger. So I can relate to that. I'm going to go ahead and finish this way, just because I don't want to take forever. And kind of what I've been doing is working on exercises to get muscle strength back in those muscles that I need in order to write properly. When I was starting to draw and write with my left hand, it's kind of as you were describing it. I could not write with this hand for more than a couple minutes at most before this hand was just completely exhausted, like fingers not wanting to move. And it was just because they weren't used to moving at all in those ways. And so as I started trying to figure out ways to work those muscles out, I started getting more control in this hand, and actually it stopped being tired all the time. I can actually use this hand longer than I can use this one these days. And so I can share those in the Discord later if you would like. The exercises that I've been doing to kind of help build the muscles in my hands, if you think those would be helpful. Because those are what I did to get control with my left hand, was targeting specific muscle groups and then helping build those up so that I could draw again. The big thing with playing video games is it only uses the muscles in your hands in one way. And so it's the only way the muscles in your hands get used to moving. And so when you try to do other things with them, the muscles in your hands are like, oh, I'm not used to moving this way anymore, so I don't want to. Okay, sure. Okay, so I will get those for you, and you can try them out. Tell me if they work for you or not. I'll tell you right now, one of them is not comfortable, but it is the one that's made the biggest difference for drawing with my left hand. I've been doing it with my right hand as well
to get some strength back in it after my my injury. And I would say that the strength that I've gotten back in my right hand is due to that exercise as well. A couple different ones, actually. I don't know why. I just always have loved drawing like these super grinning characters, kind of crazy expressions. Just makes me smile. Makes them smile too. For anyone who's not in the Discord, I will put the link in the chat in a bit. I'm just, my computer's over there and my drawing table's over here, so I gotta get up and stop drawing in order to go do that. Beautifully misaligned and uneven teeth. I like those. One thing I do try to do is, if I draw teeth on one side, go draw them on the other one. And then work my way towards the middle, especially for these kind of monstrous teeth. Yep, that'll work. He looks like a Cyberman who got stuck in the hyperbolic time chamber and achieved Super Saiyan 3. He kind of does look that way, doesn't he? I guess that kind of goes back to like my earliest, I'd say, earliest and most significant drawing influence was Toriyama. I used to draw Dragon Ball things all the time, including my own like fan comic for a while. I wonder, give me just a second. I bet I could show. I could show that. Okay, where are you? I know you're here somewhere. This one? Nope, 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 nope. Yes. Back from my heavily Toriyama influenced days. This was when I really started getting serious about drawing in about 2001. I started doing my own fan Dragon Ball comic. This was um, Blackheart would understand this reference, and so Joseph. First version of Genko right here, which is my what I've used as my online name for characters for a long time. But this is very different from the way that I draw now. A lot less care for things like anatomy and just more focus on how can I tell the story. Didn't know anything about structuring the story or anything. Um, yeah, the world debut of Dragon Ball DT. I think you put GT. But yeah, so this is a comic I worked on. I was really proud of myself because I did several. I tried not to reference anything in the stories, but I would reference things for covers. It's like, maybe not this one. He traveled through dimension and time, and he had a tendency to come flying out of the portals and slam into trees. So I always like that. Did I do that in this one? Well, no, he barely misses the tree. But yeah, there's one I referenced a picture of Gohan, I believe. But very different from the way I draw him now. But that, yeah, page layouts did get better over time, as I picked up little bits about camera angles and things like that. Completely bad. Look at the size of that head. I don't know, I think this old stuff has a lot of charm though, because like I didn't understand all the technical stuff, and so I was just focused on telling the story to the best of my ability, and I didn't get hung up on things that I didn't know or I felt like I could do better. But yeah, so the Toriyama influence, especially like these kind of lines here, have always just kind of stuck with me. So every now and then, like Blackheart's comment about the Cybermen, it's like there's that Toriyama influence just coming in again and making itself known. All right, back to work on the page. This character is a lot of fun. I like drawing monsters. I'm going to do these hands. They're kind of in the front of everything else, and so I think it'd be good to knock those out. I think I'm going to use this. Go big or go broke, right? Part of the reason I like to jump in with the pen is I have to commit. to whatever I'm drawing, whether it lands right or lands wrong, it's on the page. I've just got to work with it. It's definitely a confidence builder, I'll tell you that. Right, there's one hand. I'll add some more details to it in a bit. I try not to turn the page or anything while I'm working this way so that people can continue to see the art straight on. One thing that's very easy to do is not look at this hand when you're doing this one, and then you get the sizes all off. It's easy enough to get the sizes off when you are looking at it, so definitely don't forget to not look at the hands. Like there, those fingers are too close in size. And this ring finger is way longer than that one. That's alright, it just gives people an opportunity to see what happens when you make mistakes. And when you set your hand on the ink that isn't fully dried. Alright, let's take an opportunity and drop some more ink in a couple places while we've got this thing in hand. Accidentally covered up a couple of those teeth a little too much. That's alright, it just means he hasn't been to a dentist in a while. They do have dentists in the Red Kingdom. Those teeth are gnarly. Maybe I'll come back in with the whiteout pen a little later. Maybe I'll touch that up digitally a little later. Okay. Back to one of the other pens. I'm gonna go with the number 5 for a bit. Number 5 is great for line work like this, where you just need a bunch of consistent lines to add texture. I think I'm gonna add some texture as I go with this one. modify the workflow a bit to keep things from getting monotonous. Went with some thinner ones on that side than I did that one to try to create a different effect. Let's see, this way. Yeah, I've got that white pen here somewhere. Sometimes I use the sketch line as markers for where to put stuff. I like that. Okay. Back to this hand and back to this pen. I'm already closing in on 2 hours. May not finish this on this stream. Bloodthirsty. Perfect. That's what I was going for. We'll see how far we can get. I've never timed myself drawing a page, so I wasn't sure how long this would take. I'm going to take my little break into account and go at least 10 minutes past 2 hours. It's nice to have a face with the enemy you fight in a role-playing game. You need to remember that this guy's furry. It's really easy to get so focused on the line work that I forget to take that into account. That'll work. These fingers need a little bit of attention. I think I'll just leave them claws like this. I was torn on doing like kind of a nail shape in there, but I kind of like them just as a solid mass. Something akin to joints. Here. This hand's a bit of a different angle, light be hitting a little bit different, so a little bit more shadow on this one. It also keeps the hands from feeling too much the same, because that's definitely a concern. Is like you don't want the hands to feel too much the same. I mean, yeah, our hands are pretty much identical to the one on the other hand, but asymmetry is what makes a drawing interesting. So you want to use it where you can. Okay. Thank you, other papers. You can get out of the way. Push the page up because it's getting a little uncomfortable to draw all the way down here. I try to keep my page further up specifically so that don't get any neck issues. Because otherwise I've got to have my head like bent down in order to see here, but I keep my head straight up just about if I'm drawing all the way back here. I have definitely had my share of neck pain from just not paying attention to where I was positioning my neck while I was drawing. I don't recommend it. If you draw or do a lot of writing, find a way to do it that lets you keep your head as close to straight up as possible. And you won't be able to be perfectly straight up, but like I said, as close as possible. I'm going to switch back to right hand now simply for speed's sake. I hate leaving things undone, and so like I already know I'm not going to be able to finish this before we run out of time, but I want to get as close as I can. So one thing I definitely have not developed with my left hand yet is speed. Okay. No idea what this tail's made out of. I'm kind of imagining it more like a rat tail, almost this kind of texture, but more rat-like. This almost reminds me of like one of those super mutant Shredder made in the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. The face, I mean. He did like the turtle, and then I don't even remember what the other one was. Reminds me of that though. Let's see. Maybe I can turn to my old friend Ink here and see if we can speed this drawing along. I don't necessarily want to super detail a bunch of fur anyways. Just came across your channel about 30 minutes ago. How often do you stream? Like Chansey Chio says, at least every Monday, sometimes twice or 3 times a week, but generally every Monday night. Thanks for joining us, by the way. Sounds good. Glad you could stop by. Yeah, I did it again. It's like an eternal problem with me putting my hand on the wet ink. See, I almost did it again. Caught myself that time. Extend. Extend. Okay. Okay. Stay off the wet ink. It is pretty much an unwritten law that I'm very glad they don't throw you in prison for, because I break it all the time. So I'm not planning to block all of this in with ink. What I'm planning to do is block off some sections and then hit the gaps in between with these kind of textury marks. But I figure if I can at least get some black down, that would really help kind of speed things along. Did it again! At least I didn't smear it anywhere. I feel like if I got awards for drawing, I'd get guy who smears his hand in the ink most often. Of course, I kind of smear my hand in anything if I'm drawing with. Even my pencil can get pretty smudgy. I just love making these big old marks with the brush pen. I think we need to add some to his face though, because it's going to get completely overwhelmed by all the thick marks everywhere else, especially if there's not any on his face. Thankfully, he's got this big old maul called a mouth to help with that. But yeah, gotta be mindful of it. That should make the fingers pop a little bit. Okay, let's start adding a little bit of texture. And then I'm going to take a look at the clock and see how much time I actually have left. I know I'm past the 2-hour mark. Okay. Hands off the wet ink. I'm just gonna have to like make that a chant. Maybe if my channel gets big enough, I'll get like t-shirts with that on it. Hands off the wet ink. I think that works. Usually gonna need a couple passes to make it work. Yeah, those are still a little wet. Let's work down here instead. It's more dry down here at the moment. Nice thing is technically down past this line I don't got to do anything, because if this was an actual comic page being printed, nothing past that line gets printed. That's where it's all cut off. You technically could minimize what goes down past this dotted line as well. I think we could probably get this other shoulder now. This is probably where we need to stop for tonight. Well, let's see. The picture tells a story. Monster, join me and I'll kill you. You don't you mean or? Monster, you know what I said. That's exactly what this feels like. Okay, well here's where we're gonna stop for tonight. I think I'm officially out of time for streaming this evening. Got some work to do for work. Otherwise, I would gladly keep drawing. But thank you to everyone who was able to join me this evening. I had a lot of fun working on this. It's been a long time since I've been able to work on something like a comic page. I look forward to... We're supposed to do the playtest next Monday. And so I will either finish this up this week, or actually, you know what? There won't be a stream next Monday because I will be on an airplane with Joseph heading back to Missouri. So stream next week will have to be on Tuesday or Wednesday. Not really sure yet, but I am still going to try to have one next week. But yeah. Feel free to join the Discord. I will add the link to the description, and I will talk to everyone later. Have a good night.